My name is Daniel Mercer, and I'm 41 years old. For most of my life, I believed I understood people, what they wanted, what they feared, what they hid behind their smiles. It was part of my job, after all. As a behavioral analyst for a private security firm in Chicago, I spent years studying the shadows within others, the small fractures in their stories, the little betrayals that reveal who they truly are. What I never expected was to miss the fractures in my own home. I met Olivia 3 years ago at a coffee shop near Wacker Drive. I wasn't looking for anyone. I had just come out of a long, bitter chapter in my life, and I wasn't eager at all to start a new one. But life has its own plans. She walked in wearing this oversized gray sweater and holding her hair in a loose bun that somehow made her look even more delicate. She stopped next to my table, apologizing for accidentally brushing her sleeve against my laptop. Her voice was soft, almost musical, and she smiled in a way that made my chest tighten. It's strange how a person can enter your life in the most unremarkable moment and completely shift your axis. Within months, she became my routine, my mornings, my evenings, my silence, my peace. She made the city feel less cold, less sharp around the edges. I remember thinking, she's the one thing in my life that finally makes sense. I trusted her in a way I hadn't trusted anyone in years, and that trust is what made the truth cut so deeply that I still sometimes feel the wound bleeding. Her betrayal didn't come to me in a dramatic revelation. No, it started with small, stupid details, things most people wouldn't notice. A shift in tone, a different kind of distance in her eyes, a hesitation before answering harmless questions. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. I convinced myself it was stress, work fatigue, anything but what my instincts whispered. But instincts don't lie. One evening, about 6 months ago, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. I wasn't snooping, I genuinely wasn't. I was making dinner, chopping garlic, when a message popped up on her lock screen. It was just a few words, innocent looking, but the name attached to it made my stomach tighten into a knot. Marcus Hale, her colleague, a senior partner at her firm. Smart, charming, charismatic in that polished, professional way that makes people lean in when he talks. I had met him twice. He shook my hand too confidently. He smiled at Olivia too warmly. The message read, "Miss you already. Last night was unforgettable." My world didn't explode. It didn't shatter. It folded quietly, like paper collapsing in on itself. I didn't open the message thread. I didn't scroll. I just stood there, knife in hand, garlic half minced, staring at the glowing screen as something inside me turned black. From that moment on, my life split into two halves: the man she thought she knew, and the man quietly documenting every detail of her lies, because I didn't confront her. Not right away. People show their truest selves when they believe they're safe. So I watched. I paid attention. I acted normal. And in the background, I began to pull threads, subtle, careful, invisible threads. Marcus wasn't clean. I suspected it the moment I met him. Men like him rarely are. Overconfident, polished too sure they're untouchable. I'd already run basic background profiles on him long before the message. Part habit, part curiosity. Nothing alarming. But now, with a personal reason to dig deeper, I went further. And what I discovered changed everything. Marcus had financial inconsistencies that couldn't be explained by his salary. He had encrypted communication logs with an unknown contact. I found an email that hinted at client manipulation, something far more serious than infidelity, something that could ruin his entire career and land him in a courtroom. And Olivia, she wasn't innocent either. She sent documents to Marcus through her private email, files he shouldn't have had, files she couldn't justify possessing. Their affair was just the surface. Underneath was something more: connections, secrets, maybe even crimes. I realized then that I wasn't dealing with betrayal in the romantic sense. I was staring at a larger web, the deeper rot, and the part that kept me awake at night wasn't even the cheating. It was how seamlessly she lied to me, how expertly she navigated both worlds. I wasn't living with the woman I thought she was. I was living with someone I didn't know at all. The night it all crystallized was the night I followed her. She said she had to work late. She kissed me goodbye, touched my cheek gently, said she loved me. I watched her walk out the door with the same grace she had the day I met her. But I didn't stay home. I waited 15 minutes, grabbed my coat, and followed her into the cold November night. She didn't go to the office. She drove to a hotel on North Clark, walked inside, and took the elevator to the 7th floor. Room 714. Marcus was already there. I watched from a distance, not through a door crack, not through a peephole. I didn't need to see them physically. I only needed to see her enter that room with the ease of someone who'd done it many times before. And as I stood there in the dim hallway, my heart didn't break. Not the way people describe heartbreak. It didn't crack or splinter. It hardened like steel forged in fire. Because in that moment, I knew two things with perfect clarity. First, Olivia had betrayed me long before I caught her. Second, Marcus had no idea who he had just crossed, and neither of them had the faintest clue how much I already knew. Their lives were about to change, not out of rage, not out of jealousy, but out of cold, patient, deliberate calculation. People think revenge is about emotion. They're wrong. Revenge is about precision, and I had all the time in the world. It took me 3 days to fully accept what I had witnessed outside room 714, not emotionally. That part had frozen over long before, but strategically, because once you acknowledge the truth, you have to decide what to do with it. And I wasn't about to waste a betrayal this big on something as small as an argument. Most men scream. Most men cry. Most men pack a suitcase, leave a note, slam a door. I wasn't most men. The trick to dismantling people like Olivia and Marcus is simple. You never confront them when you're hurt. You confront them when you're ready. And I wasn't ready yet. For now, I needed information, patterns, timelines, evidence. So I played the role I had been assigned, the devoted boyfriend who trusted her without question. Every morning I kissed her forehead. Every night I held her as she slept. She'd place her head on my chest, unaware that the man she was lying to was quietly collecting every detail necessary to destroy the world she'd built on lies. The irony was almost poetic. The first thread a week after the hotel, Olivia started acting comfortable, too comfortable. She believed she had outsmarted me with her well-rehearsed smiles and soft apologies for being so exhausted lately. She didn't know that I had a duplicate of her SIM card. My firm used that technology often, legally, of course, but legality wasn't my priority anymore. Through message logs, I watched her conversations with Marcus unfold like a cheap script. Marcus, meeting tomorrow, after lunch. Room 714. Olivia, I can't stop thinking about you. Marcus, he'll never know. Olivia, I know. God, I love you. That last sentence almost made me laugh. They thought I was blind. They thought I was weak. They thought they were clever. And clever people are easy to break because they always underestimate the ones who stay. Quiet. Following Marcus, most affairs are just affairs, sex, secrets, stupidity. But Marcus wasn't stupid. He was ambitious. Too ambitious. And ambition leaves trails. During work hours, he spoke to someone using encrypted messaging software designed to hide metadata. That alone wouldn't have raised alarms, but the timing of some of his deeper financial inconsistencies matched perfectly with these conversations. He was moving money, or hiding it, or funneling it somewhere. I didn't know yet, but I would. I began shadowing him after hours. Not physically, that comes later, but financially, digitally, socially. He left traces everywhere. Suspicious invoices, off-record meetings, clients who weren't listed in the firm's official portfolio. I wasn't uncovering an affair anymore. I was peeling back a layer of corruption. And Olivia was entangled in it. The thought didn't give me satisfaction. It didn't give me pain either. It gave me leverage. And leverage is more valuable than truth. The dinner 12 weeks after the hotel, Olivia came home with a smile so bright it almost felt insulting. She suggested we go out. A date night, she said. We haven't had one in a while. Of course we hadn't. She spent her free nights in hotel rooms with another man, but I matched her smile. I told her she was right. I made reservations at our favorite Italian restaurant, the same place we'd gone on our first date. The evening was almost comical. She told me work was stressful. She told me she missed me. She told me she was grateful for me, all while her phone buzzed inside her purse with a message from Marcus that read, "Tomorrow, 7 p.m., room 714. I need you." I watched the notification reflect off the metal zipper of her purse. She didn't even bother to hide it properly anymore. When she went to the restroom, I lowered my head, closed my eyes, and let one single thought wash over me. This is the calm before the storm. And I am the storm. Her mistaketh. Next day, Olivia left early for a team briefing. I waited 10 minutes. Then I followed her. She didn't go to work. She didn't go to a meeting. She went to Marcus, but not to the hotel. This time, she drove to his apartment. And this part almost amused me. She parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest of the distance, as if secrecy mattered now, as if her footsteps could erase everything I already knew. Marcus opened the door without hesitation. He kissed her, and the two of them disappeared inside. I recorded the entire interaction from my car using a long-range lens, not for revenge, not for emotion, for proof that would matter soon, very soon, because what I was planning wouldn't just break them emotionally, it would destroy their reputations, their careers, their stability, their sense of safety, piece by piece, quietly, methodically. The kind of destruction you can't recover from. The beginning of the end. That evening, Olivia came home glowing, a familiar glow I had once mistaken for joy but now recognized as guilt mixed with adrenaline. She kissed me. She asked how my day was. She acted like nothing had changed, but something had. Not for her, for me. Because that morning, before following her, I had submitted an anonymous financial audit request to an oversight agency that monitored corporate fraud. The request included several documents, all traced back to Marcus, all linked to Olivia's activity. Documents I had pulled from their private exchanges. Documents neither of them knew I had. Documents with timestamps and access logs that would burn everything they had built on secrets. It had started. And once you start something like this, there's no turning back. Everything was moving, quietly, slowly, perfectly. Their downfall wasn't coming. It had already begun. And they had no idea. I didn't sleep the night after I filed the audit request, not because of guilt. I had burned through guilt weeks ago, but because of anticipation. There's a certain stillness before a life collapses, a quiet hum in the air. And that night it felt like the whole city was vibrating with it. Chicago looked different from my window, sharper, colder, as if it already knew what was coming. By morning, I had re-entered the role Olivia needed me to play, the caring, patient partner with no idea she was lying to me every time she opened her mouth. She came into the kitchen wrapped in a towel, steam still clinging to her skin, smelling like the expensive shampoo she used on nights she saw Marcus. I handed her a mug of coffee. She kissed my cheek, and I wondered how a person can be so gentle on the outside and so corrosive on the inside. The first crack. It took 3 days for the first signal to arrive. I was sitting in my office when my encrypted inbox received a notification from the oversight investigator assigned to the case. Not a full report, not yet, but a request for additional documentation. They had found inconsistencies. They needed more. Perfect. I sent everything I had on Marcus. I left out Olivia, for now. It wasn't mercy. It was timing. Destroying 2 people at once is messy. Destroying them sequentially, that's art. 2 hours later, Olivia texted me, "Can we do dinner tonight?" I feel like we've been distant." The hypocrisy nearly made me laugh, but I wrote back, "Of course." Every yes I gave her now was a quiet promise of what was coming. Dinner with a ghost went to a small bistro near the river. The candles were dim, the atmosphere warm, and she looked beautiful not because of her dress or her hair, but because of the softness she used like armor. The softness that had fooled me once. She reached for my hand. Her fingers were warm. "Daniel," she said softly, "I don't want to lose what we have." I studied her face. She didn't look nervous. She looked rehearsed. That was the moment I knew she had told Marcus she needed to slow things down. Not because she intended to end the affair, no, of course not, but because guilt had finally started to tap her on the shoulder. She wanted both worlds. She wanted me for stability. She wanted him for thrill. She wanted to eat from two plates and pretend she was starving. I squeezed her hand gently. "You won't lose me," I said, and she smiled with relief she didn't deserve. Marcus slips in Friday morning, while Olivia showered. I accessed Marcus's work email using a mirrored login I had set up weeks earlier. A new thread had been flagged by the firm's internal security system. A client had asked about a missing payment, a large one that Marcus had redirected. And the tone of the internal response was tense. They were watching it now, which meant the timing was close. When Olivia stepped out of the shower, wrapped in the same towel as always, she found me sipping coffee like any other morning. She kissed me on the neck and thanked me for being so patient lately. I swallowed the bitterness, not the hurt, that was long gone, but the disgust. She left for work. 10 minutes later, I followed her. Not physically, digitally. I tapped into the building's cameras using an exploit I'd discovered the year before. Marcus arrived at 9:17 a.m. Olivia arrived at 9:26 a.m. They avoided each other in the lobby, amateurs, but met in the storage room on the 11th floor 8 minutes later. She touched his chest. He cupped her face. She laughed. A soft, gentle laugh she used to reserve for me, and I watched them on a screen emotionless, the way a surgeon watches a monitor during a delicate operation. What they didn't know was that the investigator I'd anonymously engaged had already set up a formal inquiry into Marcus's financial conduct. What they didn't know was that 2 of their shared documents had been flagged for unauthorized transfer. What they didn't know was that their private messages were part of a digital trail inching closer to exposure. Watching them was like watching 2 people sitting on railroad tracks while a train silently approached. They had no idea how close it was. A visit from the past. That evening, Olivia came home unusually early. Her face was tense, pale. She kept wringing her hands. She didn't speak for almost an hour. Then finally, she sat beside me on the couch and whispered, "Can I ask you something?" I nodded. If someone you loved hurt you, would you tell them, or would you just leave?" It wasn't a confession. It was fear. She felt something shifting, though she didn't know what. "People who hurt you," I said quietly, "always assume they still have control." She looked up at me with wide eyes. "What does that mean?" I gave her a faint smile. "Nothing you need to worry about." And she believed me. She rested her head against my shoulder. I felt nothing. Not love, not pain, just patience. The storm. This next morning, a red notification appeared on Marcus's inbox. Subject: Financial Review Urgent Internal Audit. Opened it at 8:03 a.m. His reaction was immediate. A call to his assistant, then to the compliance team, then to legal. The panic was almost visible in his posture. Olivia texted him minutes later. "What's happening? Are we in trouble?" He didn't reply. Her next message: "Marcus, please, I'm scared." Still nothing. The man she risked everything for was already breaking, and she didn't even know it yet. The evening everything changed at 7 p.m. Olivia came home shaking. She didn't take off her coat. She didn't sit down. Her voice trembled. "Daniel, something's going on at work. Something serious. They're investigating Marcus." And she stopped. I waited, silent. And I think they're going to look at my activity too. I tilted my head, pretending concern. Why would they look at you? Her eyes glassed over with fear. Because I shared files with him. I stared at her, no blinking, no softness. And she mistook the silence for shock. She grabbed my hand with both of hers. Daniel, I'm scared. I need you. I don't know what to do. I could smell the panic on her. It was intoxicating. I lifted her chin gently. Everything will be fine, I said softly. And she collapsed against me, crying. I held her, slowly, calmly, almost tenderly. And in that moment, Olivia had no idea that the man she cried to was the one who set the fire she was now trying to escape. Olivia didn't sleep that night. She lay beside me, trembling every few minutes, breathing in sharp, uneven bursts. Every time her phone buzzed, she flinched like a frightened animal. I kept my breathing steady, controlled, the calm center of a storm I had created. Just before dawn, she whispered, Daniel, are you awake? I didn't turn. Yeah, she hesitated, then curled closer to me, her forehead pressing between my shoulder blades. If anything happens, can you promise you won't leave me? The irony of the request almost made me laugh. Promise not to leave her, after she'd spent months leaving me in 1,000 invisible ways. But I said, of course. Her arms tightened around me, relief shuddering through her body. And in that moment, she didn't even realize I was already gone. Collapse begins at 9:40 a.m. the next morning. Marcus's worst fear became reality. A firm-wide memo went out. Subject: investigation update, temporary suspension. Marcus read access revoked. Effective immediate. I was escorted out of the building by security. Not handcuffed, not yet, but pale, sweating, swallowing panic like poison. I watched it all through the building cameras. Olivia watched it in person. I saw her in the footage, standing near the elevators, frozen, her hands clutching her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. She wasn't worried about Marcus. She was terrified for herself. By noon she was called into an informal conversation with compliance. I listened in remotely. They had no clue the system was compromised. The questions were simple at first. What is your relationship with Marcus professionally? Did you ever share files with him outside protocol? Why did your system show authorized cross-access? But then the tone shifted. Ms. Hayes, are you aware that the documents in question were later tied to missing client funds? I heard the sharp inhale she tried to hide. No, she whispered. God, no. I didn't know. They let her go for the day, but the damage was done. She returned home a ghost of herself. The cracks spread the moment she walked through the door. She collapsed into my arms. Daniel, they think I don't know what they think. Her words blurred together in frantic stutters. I held her shoulders firmly. Look at me. Her eyes were red, terrified, searching. You're safe, I lied. We'll fix this. She nodded, swallowing hard, clinging to the hope I dangled in front of her. Then her voice broke. I think Marcus is going to blame me. I think he's going to say it was my idea, that I helped him. Daniel, I didn't. I swear I didn't. I stroked her hair slowly. I believe you. Another lie. She had helped him, willingly, eagerly. Not with the money, perhaps, but with access, with secrecy, with the naivety of someone who thinks consequences exist only for other people. But belief wasn't what she needed. She needed an anchor, and I gave it to her so she would keep sinking exactly where I wanted. Marcus calls at 6:42 p.m. Olivia's phone rang. Marcus. She froze. Her eyes met mine, and I saw the guilt flare across her face like a spotlight. Answer it, I said calmly. She hesitated, then pressed the phone to her ear. Marcus? Her voice was barely a whisper. His reply was furious, shaking, broken. What did you tell them? Olivia's knees nearly gave out. Nothing, I didn't. Marcus, I'm scared. He cut her off with a growl. They're pinning this on me. They're going to dig through everything. They'll see the messages. They'll see the shared files. Olivia, Do you understand what that means? Her hand covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Marcus, please, stop, don't say more. But he kept going. His panic made him reckless. They will see everything. The transfers. The files. Us. Double quotes us. The word echoed in the air like a confession. My jaw tightened. Not with anger. Not anymore. But with satisfaction. This was the moment the truth became poison. Olivia hung up mid-sentence. Then she dropped the phone as if it burned her. She looked at me, terrified, pleading, searching for something to hold onto. Daniel, I'm so sorry. It took every ounce of control not to smile. The breaking point sobbed into her hands, shaking uncontrollably. I ruined everything. I ruined us. I ruined my life. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean for any of this. Daniel, please. Say something, please. I knelt in front of her, placed my hands on her trembling knees, lifted my eyes to hers, eyes now swollen and shattered. Double quotes. Olivia, I said softly, I need you to tell me the truth. She choked on the words. I cheated on you. The admission came out like a scream muffled in her own throat, and I helped him. I didn't know he was stealing money, but I helped him. I let him use my access. I thought he cared about me. Her voice broke into a sob. I was so stupid. I wiped a tear from her cheek, not out of compassion, out of control. You weren't stupid, I whispered. You were blind. She grabbed my hand. Can you ever forgive me? I watched her, the desperation, the self-loathing, the collapse, and the truth was simple. Forgiveness was never part of the plan, but she didn't need to know that. Not yet. I leaned in and kissed her forehead. Rest, I said gently. We'll figure everything out tomorrow. She nodded, clinging to me. She went to shower, to wash her face, calm her breathing, try to feel human again. And the moment the door closed, I opened her laptop. I uploaded everything, every incriminating message, every shared file, every timestamp. And scheduled it for automatic release to compliance at 8 o'clock in. By tomorrow morning, the storm she feared would no longer be something approaching. It would be something drowning her. Morning arrived slowly, painfully, like the world itself hesitated to begin the day that would end her life as she knew it. Olivia didn't sleep. She lay beside me, eyes half open, staring into the darkness, until the room slowly turned gray. Every few minutes she'd exhale sharply, as if remembering all over again that her world was unraveling. I watched the clock, 7:43 a.m. 17 minutes until the files sent themselves, 17 minutes until everything she had tried to hide, from her company, from her family, from me, would be dragged into the light. She sat up suddenly, pressing her palms against her forehead. Daniel, I don't know what to do, she whispered. Just breathe, I said. She nodded, swallowing panic. She thought I was her anchor. She thought I was the only thing keeping her from collapsing completely. She had no idea that I was the one pulling out the floor beneath her. 8:00 Mexically on time. The message sent. I watched it tick away from her email outbox. Compliance inbox at subject. Urgent truth attachments. Messages with Marcus.zip. Access logs Olivia Hayes. PDF. Shared files timeline.xlsx. Internal chat extracts. That it was done. 8 minutes later. Her phone vibrated. She stared at the screen, then at me. Then back at the screen. Her lips parted slowly. Her face drained of color. Daniel, something's wrong. She opened her email app. Her hands trembled harder with every second she scrolled. Then she froze. Her voice cracked. Daniel, why? Why does it say I sent this? I leaned closer, my face calm, patient. What is it? She turned the screen toward me with shaking fingers, and there it was, the message. Sent from her account, with everything attached. Everything. Her voice was barely audible. I didn't send this. I let a moment of silence sit between us, heavy and cold. Then I whispered, maybe someone wanted them to know the truth. The realization hit her like a physical blow. Her eyes widened, her breathing stopped, her fingers went numb. Dropping the phone onto the bed. Daniel. Her voice strangled itself. What did you do? I met her gaze fully for the first time in days. I told the truth, I said simply. The truth you hid from everyone. She covered her mouth with both hands, a whimper slipping through her fingers. Why? Why would you? You cheated, I said quietly. You lied? You risked your job, my home, our future. For him. She shook her head violently. It was a mistake. No, a mistake is one moment. This was months. Tears streamed down her face, but she couldn't speak. So I continued. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed your company. You betrayed yourself. I just made sure the right people knew. She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing into her hands. The company responds at 8:26 a.m. Caller, HR director call tap. Mandatory meetings. Didn't answer at first. She couldn't. I watched her struggle to pick up the phone, her fingers stiffed, trembling. Hello? Her voice was dead. Ms. Hayes, you need to come in immediately. We have serious concerns regarding the email you sent this morning. She tried to speak, failed, tried again. I didn't send those files. We will discuss everything in the meeting. Please come now. They hung up. She stared at the wall for a long moment. Then she whispered, my life is over. The last drive offered to drive her. She didn't trust her hands on the wheel. The entire ride she sat curled against the passenger door, staring at nothing, breathing shaky, uneven breaths. Every red light made her flinch. Every notification sound made her shiver. When we reached the building, she didn't get out, not right away. She touched my hand. Daniel, please, tell me the truth. Her voice was hollow. Did you send that email? I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw everything. The guilt, the fear, the collapse, the slow, dawning understanding that her choices had led her exactly here. Yes, I said. Her lips parted in pain. I did. She didn't breathe. She didn't blink. She just stared at me as if I'd shoved the knife into her chest. But why? She whispered. Because you deserved the consequences. You were trying to escape. She closed her eyes. A trembling exhale left her chest. Then she nodded weakly and stepped out of the car. She didn't look back. The fallout within 3 hours? Marcus confessed to making unauthorized transactions. Compliance found the access logs linking Olivia. HR placed her on unpaid suspension pending investigation. Her keycard was deactivated. Her name was removed from 3 client accounts she'd once led. Her supervisor emailed her, don't return to the office. By the evening, the company had enough to move forward. She was finished, not jailed, not destroyed beyond repair, but professionally dead, exactly as planned. The return home. Ash walked through the door at 7:50 p.m. Not crying, not shaking. Just empty. She stood in the middle of the living room, arms hanging loosely at her sides, her voice quiet and worn. It's over, she whispered. I didn't respond. She stepped closer. I lost everything, still. I said nothing. Finally she asked the only question that mattered. Do you still love me? I looked at her, at the woman who had broken me, betrayed me, and now stood at the ruins of her own making, and I answered honestly, I did. Her eyes softened, a fragile, flickering hope, but not anymore. The hope died, right there. She sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, and whispered, then what happens now? I picked up the suitcase I had already packed for her. I placed it gently at her feet. You find a place to stay, I said, and you start over. A long silence filled the room. Then she sobbed once, sharply, and nodded. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just opened the suitcase and added the only thing she had left, her shame. The ending she gave herself. He watched from the window as she walked down the street, dragging her suitcase behind her, her shoulders hunched, her pace slow, her world gone. She never turned around. She looked exactly how I had felt the night I discovered the truth. Broken, hollow, unwanted. It was poetic. Not because I enjoyed it. I didn't. But because it was balanced. One betrayal, one collapse, one consequence. Justice rendered quietly, intimately, personally, exactly how betrayal deserved to be answered.